What's up? This is Jacob Palmer from Palmer Electrical. Thanks for tuning back into the Palmer Electrical YouTube channel. As always, if you like what you see in the video, leave a like, leave a comment, and tell me how you think I did. What would you have done differently? And hit the subscribe button if you feel compelled to do so. This one's a little bit different. I'm making this video as kind of a walkthrough. I just completed work at the house that you see behind me. I did a lot of work throughout the house, and I'm going to show you everything I did. I did a full service update. It's a 200 amp service. I replaced meter, the main panel, and I also relocated the main panel. I also did new appliance circuits throughout the home. I did a new circuit for the HVAC condenser. I did a new circuit for the dishwasher and disposal, a new circuit for the range, for the cooking range. It was a 3-wire. I upgraded it to a 4-wire. Same thing with the dryer. It was a 3-wire dryer circuit. I upgraded that to a modern 4-wire system. I also added a new smoke detector circuit throughout the home, new detectors and new wiring for the whole place. I did several other minor corrections throughout the home, just little stuff here and there. And finally, I did a full redevice. I changed every single plug and switch throughout the entire home. Everything got replaced. I pretty much did everything except for rewire this home. So I wanted to record a short walkthrough video for a couple purposes: to document the work that I did, to show completion and quality, and also to share kind of what I've been doing over the past couple weeks. If you watch my channel, you know that I'm a solo operator. I don't use any help. I don't have anybody else. It's just me and this truck right here. So I didn't have time to film this job, but I wanted to take the time and make this video, and I can tell you a little bit about the work I did and my decision making and some of the materials and things, and kind of my decision making process and how I carried out this work. Like I said before, tell me what you would have done differently. I want to hear it. Leave it in the comments. If you do this type of work, tell me how you think I did, or if you would have done anything differently about the job. Your comments telling me about different materials and techniques are super valuable to me. We're all constantly learning every day, so new info is very valuable to me. So we'll start on the outside and work our way in. On the outside of the house, I didn't really do a ton of work. The only work that got done to the outside of the home is the service replacement, as well as just one outdoor outlet replaced. Here is my new 200 amp service. It's an underground service, just a like-for-like replacement out here, except for the old meter, the HVAC disconnect here was just tapped off the load side of the meter. Of course, I can't do that and pass an inspection with a new setup, so that's the main reason why I pulled a new circuit for the HVAC disconnect. I'm using one of these no overcurrent protection style breaker disconnects here. I just used some flex conduit going down into the crawl space to feed it up, and then the existing whip feeding the condenser. For my grounding, I've got a number 4 bare through my intersystem bonding bridge here, over and down, and then I installed 2 ground rods, spaced 6 feet and 10 inches apart. I always just go a little bit extra above the 6-foot minimum. Just showing this outlet that got replaced back here. This one originally wasn't GFI protected at all. It was just pulled off the interior lighting circuit, but it had a box and everything. So I put a weather-resistant GFCI receptacle there, and we're good to go. Moving on to the inside here. This side door opens up into the laundry area, and this is originally where the panel was. Little tip, whenever I'm redevicing, I like these Decora style stack switches instead of the toggle style. These look just way cleaner. The toggle style, that have that duplex outlet kind of shape to them, those are really ugly to me, so got that taken care of. Washer outlet here is GFI protected at the breaker. Dryer outlet here, also GFI protected at the breaker. And here is the cavity where the panel used to be. Used to be a split bus style panel, and the original cause of this issue, what started all this, the B leg feeding down to the second half of that split bus panel, on the back of the breaker had a bad connection. I recorded a good video, you can see what I'm talking about, but there's no real safe fix for that. We really had to get the panel replaced, and the customer opted for a bunch of extra upgrades. I was editing this video and realized that I still had this panel. I can see what it looks like. So let's see if we can find the arcing there, see what it looks like. Let's see what this looks like. Ooh. Oh wow, I can hear it. Yeah, take a look at that. Yeah, you can really see on the bus bar there where and the thing is, you know, there's no real fix for this. There's no real safe, proper fix. with this split bus panel here. Theoretically, one could get rid of one of these breakers, you know, and put a different breaker and refeed these two little lugs here. But that would just be a horrible practice. I mean, you wouldn't, why would you do that? That's not safe. It's not to code. This old panel needs to go anyways. Look at that. Ain't that something? So, but here's what I did. You can see fire caulk in the top and bottom plates here. Everything is secured and supported. Of course, the circuits that went up from the panel here had to get extensions made. So I have two big junction boxes up in the attic right here to make those extensions. That's all these right here. And then of course this here is an extension box too. This blue wire here is for the smoke detectors, jumping from the basement up into the attic space. And then here is of course my new 4/0 aluminum feeder cable, big guy. I like to put a little bit of tape around it where I put these metal staples here just for a little bit of extra insulation. Not a huge deal. Of course, the neutral conductor inside this cable is the strands are splayed out and wrapped around the conductors. So it kind of has its own built-in armor kind of deal, but that extra protection just makes me feel a little bit better about it. In the kitchen here, it was pretty funny. There was hardly any GFI protection where it needed it in this house. So we got everything GFI protected to code. These right here, I had to use the table saw and just trim these cover plates because whenever these were originally installed, those boxes were a little bit too close and they had smaller cover plates. We replaced this. I like to label the disposal switch here. And, you know, if the customer doesn't like that, they can peel that label off, it's fine. Down below is where my new dishwasher disposal circuit comes in. Comes up right there, and then I used flex conduit to route the wiring around for protection. And also I like to use steel boxes whenever I can in places that are accessible like this. One, I find that it's a little bit easier to mount and work with, but also because this right here is an area that gets accessed pretty often. Customers are going to open this up and pull around. They're going to shove stuff back in here, so it just offers me a little bit of extra protection for my wires. Range here, we converted this range to a 4-wire. We removed the bonding jumper from the chassis and just put it back the way it is. Around the back here, you can see I had to do a little bit of drywall access here. I rewired most of the countertop circuit here, just feeding stuff across, more proper. And then this is where I also accessed to get my new range circuit up into the wall here. Throughout the house here, new smoke detectors. We did one here in the hallway, outside the bedrooms. All of them are smoke and carbon detectors. They're the Kitty brand with the 10-year battery, photoelectric detection. Very nice detectors. These are what I recommend to most people. So there's one there. I've got one inside of each bedroom. Here. And here. And then there's also a smoke detector in the basement. Another detail I like to include, these I use gray switches for switches that don't get used all the time, or maybe they're confusing. You can see it's labeled, it's the attic light. It's up inside the attic here. And you don't want that burning all the time. So I made it gray so that anybody would obviously see this and know not to leave that on. Again, if the customer hates this, this is an easy thing to swap out. But it's these little details that just increase usability and makes it easy for somebody to live in this house. Here's more redevice. All my screws are vertical throughout everything, all the outlets and switches throughout the whole place. On a big job like this, I like to also look out for little details, like replacing the bulbs. All the bulbs were burnt out in this fixture the whole time I was here, so, you know, go ahead and replace the bulbs. That's pretty cheap, especially compared to this big job that I'm doing. There's a few extra dollars built in for things like light bulbs that might need to get replaced. Same thing in here, that bulb was burnt out too over these basement stairs. Look at these basement stairs. This is the ultimate death trap basement stairs here, look at this. Anyhow, moving on down, basement lights, that got redeviced. Down here, my new panel's right here, but we'll save that for just a second. I also, for this job, did a new sump pump circuit. So there was a circuit that was just kind of tapped off of another sump pump circuit that came back here for this pump. So we installed a new dedicated 20 amp, 120 volt circuit. GFI here, EMT pipe. I may be a residential guy, but I know how to bend EMT. I know how to bend some pipe. Don't look too close at it, but I can do it. Moving on, here's my smoke carbon detector down here in the basement. I just kind of placed it central, kind of in the middle of the space. Here, smoke and carbon. And finally, the main event. This is my new 200 amp main breaker panel here. take a look on the inside, and that is what I'm working with. Sign your work. But here it is on the outside. I'll open this up in a minute and show you, but 200 amp main breaker. Got a Ditech brand classified surge protector here. This has an audible alarm whenever it discharges, but you can silence the alarm by pulling out this little tab here. I like that feature. I went ahead and GFI protected the range, the dryer, GFI breaker for the dishwasher and disposal here. Did all sorts of arc fault breakers down, arc fault, ground fault breakers here for the washer, for a set of outlets down here in the basement, and then some standard trips down here at the bottom for other various pieces of equipment that didn't need arc fault protection. I like these labels. I outlawed handwritten labels in my panels. That's a no-no. I don't have any employees, and I'm not thinking about hiring anybody anytime soon, but let me tell you, if I open up your panel and you wrote with your nasty handwriting in Sharpie all the panel labels, you're gone. I want to set this up here. I'll open up this panel, tell you a little bit about the inside. I know everybody wants to see that. Just don't make fun of me. I don't want to be, don't make fun of me, please. There we go, baby. Oh, I'm so happy with this. All right, there's the inside. Not bad, not bad, I don't think. This is the main disconnect for the home, so the case is bonded. I'll talk about that in a minute. All my code guys, I'll talk about that in a second. I punched 3 2-inch nipples going out the top of the panel into this crawl area. I'll put a picture up of what behind this looks like here, but I added 2 pieces of pressure-treated deck boards. I attached them to this block wall on the other sides for a nailing surface, just to make it nice and easy for myself. But yeah, 3 2-inch nipples. They are sleeved all the way through. The center one is just for the SEU cable coming in. The 2 sides are for the branch circuits. See, duct sealed up, looks good. The factory installed ground bar was right here on this side. I added a ground bar on the other side of it here. And then I also, whenever I add a new ground bar like this, that's not factory installed, especially in a main panel like this that serves a big portion of the home. I installed it with the provided screws and everything. I also used some no-locks on the threads where they're attached for corrosion. But also, I go ahead and pull a, you can't really see it, it's buried, but I pull a bonding jumper between the aftermarket ground bar and the neutral bar here in this main panel where they're bonded, just as a redundancy. All those grounds have an effective path through the case, but you know, just adding that little bonding jumper, it took 2 seconds, and it's just a little bit of extra peace of mind for me, so I know that you know, it won't fail. It won't give me a big problem in the future. And clean on the inside too. Don't leave a bunch of debris and dirt. You know, whenever you're done wiring up a new panel like this, vacuum out or wipe out, do whatever. Get the bottom of the panel clean, because why wouldn't you? You know, this is a big job, this is an expensive job for everyone involved. You know, let's take some pride. One of my very favorite things about this install here is there's no visible conduits or anything coming in from the outside. It's totally clean on the outside. Everything goes out the back. So it makes for a really super clean, clean install here. I'm really happy with how this job turned out. My customer's pretty happy with the job too. With a big job like this, it's really important to keep your communication, you know, up top. This family had a place, they moved out and stayed with a family member for a week or so while this job was getting completed. So I didn't interact with them every single day, but every day I made sure that they got a text from me in the morning and whenever I was done for the day, so that they know that I was there, you know, working on it. I also made sure to keep them updated of all the status updates. I pulled 2 permits for this job. 1 permit was for the service replacement and for the HVAC circuit, because the HVAC circuit had to be done with the service replacement because it was tapped off the meter, if you remember what I was talking about with that. And the second one was everything else I just talked about. The service replacement inspection passed last week, and then the inspector was here this morning, passed. He gave me compliments and gave me his card and even told me that if I needed a reference that I could let him know. So I guess that means I did an okay job, right? So some of you are probably wondering why there's no exterior emergency disconnect. Of course, that's a part of 2023 code. We need an exterior disconnect. Here where I am in North Carolina, there's a few weird things with the code. So first, we have not adopted the 2023 NEC yet, anywhere. It's just over red tape and bureaucracy for the leaders, you know, in charge of this. It's been delayed and pushed back, and then it got delayed because of a hurricane, and then it got delayed because the state Senate didn't pass it or some weird thing. That's for a lawyer to explain, but the bottom line is, currently in North Carolina, we are governed under the 2020 code, but residential, single-family residential, you know, a dwelling like this dwelling is inspected under the 2017 NEC. So what that means is I could have skipped a whole lot of these GFI breakers and arc fault breakers if I really wanted to. In the 2017, there's a lot of the stuff here that's just not required, was not necessary. I take the opportunity to pick and choose upgrades as I see fit. In this case, I was doing a big major update for this home with the redevice and everything. I wanted to make sure that it was up to date with the arc faults. So the arc fault and ground fault coverage in this home is extensive, much more than you would see in comparable homes from this area. And also much more than a lot of electricians will quote for people. A lot of times they won't even give them this option to do an upgrade like this. So I like to include stuff like that to differentiate myself and just increase the quality. It's also good for me. It gives me some peace of mind because now, if there's an electrical issue in this home, these arc faults cover my back because I have now touched every square inch of the electrical in this home. It's all going to come back to me. So if there's an issue, I'm the only guy to blame. So these arc faults help to give me confidence in the system for protection, for fire protection, for shock hazards with the GFI. Just go above and beyond. I chose not to do an exterior emergency disconnect for a couple reasons. First was cost, but another thing about that, with me at least, is that's moving parts outside. Exterior mounted equipment degrades just way faster than interior equipment just by virtue of being in the weather, being in the rain, being in the sunlight especially. That really puts a dampering on equipment. And to have that emergency disconnect located outside, that adds an extra moving part, and that's just an extra thing that could possibly fail. Now, I'm not saying it's going to. All the equipment is built good. It's designed for outdoor use. And of course, code wouldn't ask for it if they wasn't sure that it could handle it. But in this case, one less moving part made the job easier, the costs lower, and, in my opinion, a more reliable system. I mean, I have full confidence in this system. The only thing that I have no control over are these arc fault and ground fault breakers. You know, I've had plenty of service calls where one of these breakers will just be randomly tripping and then a new breaker solves the issue. So that's one kind of risk that I run. Of course, these are also much more expensive, these ones here, the arc faults and ground fault, especially these 2-pole ground fault breakers here. So if those go out, then, you know, that's probably going to have to be a warranty for me to cover, because I provided this equipment here, and it's my opinion that the customer shouldn't have to deal with that. But that's getting kind of down into the weeds there. But that's just kind of a general overview of this job. It was a lot of work. This is my biggest job I've ever sold. It was it was a big one, so I made sure to put a lot of effort into it, and I think it turned out really well, and I'm pretty sure my customer is happy with it too. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. This has been Jacob Palmer from Palmer Electrical. It's always a pleasure. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.